did that happen? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Desert Farmer Podcast. This is episode 53. We're here in April, so we got a lot of things to cover with you guys today. Topic of the day is one that is a common question that we get. We get this all the time, so we're going to be talking about irrigation. But before we get to that, a couple of housekeeping notes. Housekeeping note number one would be what, Beautiful?
So if you guys have a question that you would like answered, please write the word question, preferably in caps, so it stands out to me, so we make sure we don't miss it and we can get that question answered for you.
Yes, and Lori will be down there checking out all your comments and whatnot, so she'll be down there with you guys, but that does help, especially when we go back to answer questions so we can pick them out.
Yeah.
And then housekeeping note number two is give us a thumbs up. So if you guys enjoy the podcast, enjoy the content that we bring to you guys each week, it really does help us out a lot if you give us a thumbs up. Share it as well. So, you got a fruit tree fan. We're always talking fruit trees here. If you got another fruit tree fanatic in the family or friends, share this with them. So would love to have them here as well. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a few things on the agenda today before we get to the topic of the day.
Sorry, I'm going to keep yawning because
yeah, it's okay. Exhausted. We're tired. Actually, no, I need to go grab. I'll be back. We forgot something.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, I need that.
Yep, here.
Thank you.
Yep. There we go.
Sorry, guys.
Technical difficulties would occur. But I got a couple things to show you guys today. But I think the first thing, can you see that over there? Kinda?
Yeah.
I know my work office is in your way.
I know, right?
So the first thing is farm tours. So did you get the right one? Nope.
Well, you told me.
First one. Yep, next to the YouTube icon. There you go. That one. Yep, that's number one.
See,
okay.
First, when I think first one, I think the left side going that way. So
yeah.
First, second, not first side.
I was thinking anyways. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Hey, as long as we're on the same book, right?
Not always on the same page.
Not always on the same page, but it's the same book. We're okay. I'm not sure though. The books you like are totally different from the books that I like.
That's true.
So at least this book is the same.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the podcast
guys.
here. You got me distracted. So, but we have a couple things we wanted to give you guys as far as a highlight here on the agenda. And the first one may be the reason I can't talk all the way through this, because I've been doing a lot of talking today. We had, what did we have? Over 100 people here today.
Yeah,
right?
like 116 or 118.
Yeah, you could have said 120. Heaven forbid you exaggerate.
I have to be exact. And someone told me 116, but my sheet said 118. So, of course, I had to say both numbers.
Let's call it 120. We had some people helping. So we had 120 people on the farm today. And so it was great getting to know a few folks here in Arizona from all over the state, right? But we had some people I know, Lake Havasu, right? Dewey. We had, Kevin was here. Kevin was here from Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas,
right?
Blythe, California.
Yeah, Blythe,
Tucson.
California, Tucson. So, folks are coming from a few hours away,
yeah.
Spending some time with us. So it was great to get to know everybody. If you guys are here, let us know in the comment section. I'd love to say hi to you guys.
I got Ben here.
Okay, very good. Very good. So we got a few shots that we'll share with you guys here. Make sure you're following us on other socials. But that we took, we didn't get a lot of pictures today, but I think Nate did get some drone footage. So that'd be kind of neat. But we got a really cool shot of you. And the favorite thing for especially the kiddos and the young at heart was this. So hopefully you guys can see that okay. So that's a shot of Lori. Do you remember which goat that is?
I think that looks like petals.
Petals.
Maybe it could be Spot. I can't tell.
Okay.
It's far away.
So it's one of the two. But we had the baby goats here for the farm tour this year. That was really, really special. And so obviously kids of any age are enjoying the goats. And so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. So usually most folks are not here for the traditional farming stuff. They're here for, fruit trees and things that we're kind of known for. But livestock is that's our heartbeat of the farm, honestly. And so to have those kids, that was kind of neat to share. Right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that we're going to be trying here with you guys today is mulberries, and all of our nursery officially is open now, and so that started with today. So we had a lot of folks that wound up picking up some trees. The favorite of those trees was the Shangri-La mulberry. Mm-hmm. So nearly sold out of those at this point, but so everybody got a chance to try Shangri-La mulberries, right? Mm-hmm. Few people got black Pakistans. There's not very many back there. Most of them have blown off the tree thanks to the wind because they don't hold well. the ever-bearing mulberries, and the other one that we had for the first time was the contorted mulberry. Well, not the first time, but we actually got good production on the contorted mulberries. So we're gonna be trying one of those with you guys here today. And then we'll have, it's kind of mulberry month. If we can squeeze a loquat in, we'll try to. But we got mulberries coming up. And then you guys know, once we hit May, man, there's all kinds of fruit going on the farm. So we'll be sharing that with you guys here as we move forward. But second highlight, kind of a low light, happened to you this week. What was it?
So we had some really crazy winds this week. And so I had looked out in the back and saw like a little, I thought it was just, a little dust devil and stuff. And
pretty big.
It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and closer and kind of went through our animals and the vineyard, and then it started heading towards the pasture where we have the chicken tractors on the pasture. And so I was like, oh no, I ran to the workout room to open the window and I see this tractor just flying.
Yeah.
Landing on our fence.
So we got a shot of kind of the aftermath for you guys, and our neighbors across the street got a video. We don't have that here today, but you guys will get a shot of the chicken tractors. Yeah, that is not how you use chicken tractors. Boy, the sky in the background is beautiful, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah, total utter destruction underneath a beautiful sky. But it was a beautiful day. That's what was so odd.
It was so weird to then see this tractor just flying through the air. And
yep.
I have 70-some broiler chickens just going everywhere.
Didn't lose one broiler chicken.
Nope.
It literally it perfectly lifted them up and threw them against the fence. Bent the fence.
Yep.
Didn't destroy the chicken tractors. We got one that's kind of hobbling along, but we've got one basically in the shop, literally in the shop right now. We're going to have to be repairing here probably tomorrow because we need to get it back out on the pasture. Fortunately, we have 3 tractors. We've got 2 full-size tractor and a little half one. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of chickens this round early on because they got too cold and spent an extra day in the mail. So fortunately, we did because we still have the space right now with the small tractor, but we need to get the big one back out. So yeah, a dust devil. I mean, hello. Really?
Ew, yeah.
I mean, those are ubiquitous here in Arizona. And it's like, yeah, don't open your eyes during one. They blow through. It's funny, whatever. But it's like a perfect vortex, and it literally lifted them up and through them. In the video, it's just like, oh, yeah, here they go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Our neighbor, actually, she's like texting me, and so she sent me the video from her cameras.
Yep.
It's like...
Yep. So, yeah. So that was a fun one. Mm-hmm. But okay, so topic of today, we're going to be getting to that here in just a minute. If we have any questions, I will do my best at keeping the voice going today. But we've got a topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts because it's water in the desert, right? Any questions?
No,
can we get right to
question. You can get right to it. Yeah. So we got a couple people, Ben and Janet, both that was here today at the farm tour. So it's good seeing you guys here, and yeah.
Very good.
Oh, I have a question that just popped up.
Okay.
I planted a semi-dwarf tangelo tree in mid-February. I used the fish emulsion as you recommend. The tree is a little pale, light green. Should I fertilize it in May?
Light green usually means, it can be one of 2 things. Number 1, it could be new growth. So if you see new growth coming out and it's pale to start, that's okay. Generally speaking, newly planted trees should not need much in the way of fertilizer. You have to be careful, especially with nitrogen, because nitrogen can burn baby roots. So, not baby roots, baby roots. So, but it can burn baby roots. So you got to be very, very cautious with that. So if you are, it can be one of 2 things. It's possible that it's chlorosis because of a lack of nitrogen, but it's probably not. It might be too much irrigation. There might be too much moisture involved because that can also do that. So it's a possibility that you're dealing with one or the other. The fish emulsion is really there to kickstart some of the soil biology around the tree as opposed to really giving it a lot of nutrition, although it does give it some. But all those beneficial nematodes and microbiota, that is really what the fish emulsion is for at planting. So, and again, you shouldn't really need it. So I would say if you're going to, first of all, double check irrigation. Too much moisture can cause that, especially if they're drooping at all. That could be too much moisture, very possible. And you're dealing with a tree that's probably got some stress at this point. So, a lot of things can be happening with that tree. So I would be very, very cautious if you're going to use, I would err on the side of not doing a fertilizer, honestly. And if you are a liquid fertilizer, something like a fish emulsion that's still very, very mild, and dilute it heavily. But again, if too much moisture is the problem, you're adding to the problem if you're adding additional moisture. So this time of year, you should never be watering more than once a week. We've had some cooler weather, so probably didn't even need to be irrigated this week at all. So it sounds like it might be that. So just hard to tell for sure. Anything else? Are we good?
Would you both stream with the goats?
You mean like holding a baby goat? Okay, so actually we did have another low light, right? With a baby goat, involving a baby goat.
Yeah.
So before we get to the topic of the day, sorry to be a downer, but we actually lost one of our baby goats this week. So it was one of the bucks. It was Rosie's buck, and he was always a little odd. He was the last one out, and she was in labor for a long time. He was the runt, correct? And he was the last one out. We almost didn't realize. In fact, I think we had a shot of the video in the video we posted. Even like, oh my goodness, there's another goat.
Yeah.
And it was him. So, but he always kind of was staring off in the distance. He wasn't quite as active as everybody else. Well, he got very inactive on, was it Sunday night? I want to say.
I can't even remember.
I think so, because I was here with you. But I saw him in there, and he was basically laying down, not really moving. And so we picked him up, and he was not doing well. So we called Amy, tried a couple things, and she said, it sounds like he has... what was it called again?
Floppy
kid syndrome or something like that. Which basically, doing some research, it sounds like a kind of an acidosis in the bloodstream. Basically what happens is they're not able to fully, from what I understand, they're not able to fully digest and process milk, which is critical for any young baby. And so he actually died in your arms.
He did. I brought him in the house and held him wrapped him in a blanket, and and his temperature, I know like they need to be a certain temperature, and he was right at that. So it wasn't that he was too cold. So I know there's a lot of things that you can do to help warm a baby goat up, but it wasn't to that point. But yeah, we just held him. We were on the couch, sitting on the couch, holding him in a blanket in my arms, and yeah.
And then he was gone. I looked over and I'm like, that goat is no longer with us.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of those things where we experienced the full circle of life here. And we talked about this that night because, obviously it's always sad when you lose an animal. That never changes. Yeah. It's sad when you lose a tree, but it's not the same when you lose, an animal. And this, we've lost pigs before, and we kind of get the same feeling. And it's not devastating, but it's upsetting. And so, but at the same time, it's part of it. I think you kept saying that over and over. And I was very proud of you because I was expecting tears to flow and they didn't.
No, because I've had many tears with animals lost, but I need to get myself more, in the mindset of, this is all part of it. It happens, it's going to happen.
Right. And death it sounds like a cliche, but death is a part of life. It's just the reality. It's a reality for all of us, by the way, here this Easter weekend. But just the reality of life is there, and you experience it every day here. And, it's grounding. I think it's, a good reminder of just the reality of life. We're so disconnected, and I don't need to go down a tangent too far, but we're so disconnected from true life and death, the reality of life and death. Especially in the first world country, but it happens every day all around us. And so we're reminded of it more often than most folks because we have so many live animals here on the farm that we take care of, like the 120 plus laying hens that we have right now. So that would be a good example.
So we can do a little, what'd you say, a downer, so an upper?
Yeah. Oh, an upper. Oh yeah, that sounds great. I probably need that right now. What do you have in mind, sweetheart? Something more than a cup of coffee?
Oh my goodness. I'm so slap happy right now. As you guys know, we have 3 cats, and we got a 4th cat this week.
Hey, that's true.
We got little Enzo, and he's adorable, and he did fantastic in the farm tour today. He was out running around with everybody, and
Yep. So we rescued him from a family. That's the best way to describe that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's doing good. He's a little, obviously a little skittish getting out there, but he's moving. He's branching out.
He is.
He's branching out.
He was all over the place today.
But yeah, he was like all in and out of these big crowds of people. So just like, yeah, okay, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
Yep. He did really good. Yep.
He did. Anyways.
Yeah. All right. Topic of the day.
Yeah.
Is that where we're
for
at?
it.
All right. So irrigation. Not hands down, our number one question is always irrigation. And, a lot of times it's questions for somebody's specific scenario, but there are some general things that we always get a question about or ask an opinion of. And I will clarify, this is my opinion on this particular topic. So let me clarify with that. I may sound like I'm talking about some absolutes, and some of them probably are. But this is my opinion and our experience, right? So we've been raising
raising fruit trees.
We've been raising fruit trees for 2 decades, but we've been diligently growing fruit trees since about 2010. So it's been about 15 years, and we have had different types of irrigation, different environments. We were in the city to start on, a traditional backfilled lot, with backfilled dirt, and had specific challenges there. We had drip irrigation there. On the old farm, we were challenged and had to do drip irrigation. We were forced into it because we're on a shared well, and we would make some very unhappy neighbors if we're doing flood irrigation and draining our tank, our water tank every time we watered. So we did drip irrigation there, and we had really good success with drip irrigation there. So, but we also understood that it's probably not ideal, especially in our environment, for a couple reasons. And when we moved here, we made the decision to go with a flood type irrigation. So obviously we're not a flooded lot here by any means. We're on a well. So we wanted to make sure we've got a lot of things in place, obviously, to make sure that we're conserving water where we can. But the flood type irrigation is what we've chosen, and it's our preference. So what I wanted to talk a little bit about is the difference between the two, some advantages and disadvantages to either option, and then you can decide what makes the most sense for you. So I'm going to start with drip irrigation because I think most people, especially if you're on a lot in the city, you probably have drip irrigation. Chances are really high that you do. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee you have drip irrigation. Excuse me. So you have probably a 1/2-inch poly drip line under the ground, and there's the little spaghetti straps come out, so the 1/4-inch drip lines come out of that, and that's what you use to water your trees and you water your bushes and that kind of thing. So for most people, especially when they're just getting into this and they're planting fruit trees, the easiest thing to do is to go ahead and utilize that system that's in place. So the advantage is you probably already have it installed, especially if it's in the city. It's very simple. The parts and pieces are very easy to swap out. And one of the biggest advantages is you can very easily temporarily water a young fruit tree, because when you're watering trees, you want to water away from the trunk of the tree. We had a long discussion about this today with everybody here today. And I actually showed them an example of roots of a fruit tree that we pulled out of the ground, and the reason why you want to water away from the tree. So under either scenario, you can do that. But if you're using drip irrigation, well, again, under either scenario, when you have a newly planted tree, while you're watering further away to encourage the outward root growth of the roots, you also need to water the root ball. The root ball needs to have some moisture on it as it continues to grow out into the soil. So it's very easy to take an emitter, imagine a flag dripper here, or a button emitter, either one's fine. You have the emitter end here, and you can attach a 1/4-inch drip line, hopefully that makes sense, but you can attach a 1/4-inch drip line to the dripper end, and then just basically run that spaghetti strap, that 1/4-inch drip line, up to near the trunk of the tree. Very easy to basically just water there temporarily, and then once the tree is more established, a few months down the road, you want to stop watering the root ball, and you want to continue to encourage that outward root growth. It's very easy to basically just snip that 1/4-inch strip line off right at the flag emitter, and now that flag emitter is watering away from the tree. So that process for the drip irrigation system is much easier, generally speaking, but it's a little bit easier for your younger trees. And then, of course, an existing system, if you already have it, same thing there. So disadvantages. So probably, well, there's two. Number one would be if you have the same rodent issue that we do. Most of us here are dealing with ground squirrels, probably all of us. And most of us are probably dealing with rabbits, probably all of us. And we've learned that our dogs also like to chew on said emitters. And so you will get damage typically from any one of those groups of animals. Mm-hmm. And so very common. They do break down pretty quickly over time. And so they're going to have to be replaced pretty frequently, relatively frequently. Mm-hmm. So you have that. And then, of course, emitters only water a specific area of the ground. So one of the things that you'll have here is salt will build up around your trees, and you need to flush that from time to time. It's easier to do that with a flood irrigation system as opposed to an emitter, a drip emitter. So, but, again, a lot of advantages as well. And we have had success with those. The old farm, still on drip irrigation. Those trees, as far as I know, are still doing really well. So you can have very good success as long as you're watering enough. Other thing about that is you need to make sure you have multiple heads around your trees. So don't expect one emitter to take care of your fruit trees. That ain't going to cut it. So you're going to have a minimum of 4 emitters, ideally. We've got a handful of trees here on drip because we have to at the front. We've maxed out a zone, and so we're on drip irrigation for a few. We've got our olive trees on drip. We have the Yehuda loquat is on drip. And we have our pineapple guava is also on drip. So we're doing the same thing here. So you still have your ring. Those you want to have evenly spaced, but you're going to need multiples around those trees in order to do that. So that's drip. Now you have flood irrigation. Did I miss anything as far as my notes on drip?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so now you have flood irrigation.
But this says easy to spot water, so I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, to water in a specific spot.
Okay.
Yeah, and so flood irrigation. So flood irrigation, obviously you're going to be able to flood a ring is essentially what it's doing. We use a bubbler. We found that ideally a 1 gallon per minute bubbler is best. Most of our trees are on half a gallon, which is a little bit too slow. We did that only because we only had a certain amount of trees on a zone based on the amount of flow that we get out of our well, which is limited. So, but either way, ideally a 1 gallon per minute bubbler, and that bubbler goes into the ring. And so you design it so that it goes into the ring. That bubbler is on a riser, and everything is PVC. So now PVC here in the desert, when it's buried, all of it is basically either buried or inside an irrigation box to make sure there's no sun damage. They will last a long, long time. So we use Schedule 40, always use Schedule 40 for your irrigation needs. Any irrigation folks out there, I'm sure they're all nodding, either Schedule 40. There's also a heavier duty UV resistant Schedule 80, but a Schedule 40, if it's going underground, is fine. So the PVC is going to last a very, very long time, much, much longer than your drip irrigation lines are going to last. Every probably 5 to 10 years, you're going to be replacing, for sure by about year 10, you're replacing your half-inch poly drip line. That's not the case with PVC irrigation. That is buried, okay? So, so that longevity, the ability to flood the area, salt buildup, et cetera, will be minimized because you're going to be flooding the area every time. You have a much larger saturation of moisture. So as it goes around that ring, you're basically filling a swale. You have berms, and that water will penetrate outside. So not only is it straight down and slightly out that you would get in a drip, because you're flooding a larger area, you have more. You have
it in a drip.
I know. Well, yeah, drip is in a smaller area, but
yeah.
in a flood, you're doing the whole ring, and that will penetrate further out. So again, you're getting more water penetration further away from the tree. That is going to allow the tree to spread roots much further, faster. So you don't have trees tipping over in the wind and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you saw our chicken tractors earlier. Those got thrown everywhere. There was not a single damaged branch even to one of our fruit trees. So, and it's rare that we get them. So that is because of how we irrigate. Now, disadvantage. So the major disadvantage is when you have a younger tree. You guys know that we have a double ring design. You guys have probably seen that. If not, you can find it here on YouTube. It is a little more complicated. So we have to have a ring closer to the tree that will temporarily water around the smaller tree while we're also irrigating further out from the tree. The other thing is if you're utilizing mulch, which we heavily encourage you guys to do, But if you're utilizing mulch, that mulch is breaking down into soil over time, which is filling that ring. So we had Kevin here helping us today. We've been doing this as well. We found that about 4 to 5 years in, we're going to go over and have to pull those rings back out, get all that soil back out to reestablish those rings. And so another disadvantage. However, said soil that's coming out of those rings is perfect black gold for us as far as gardeners. So you can very easily take that stuff, which is fantastic soil, especially for your garden beds, put it right into your garden bed. So you're going to probably get a good 5-gallon bucket or more of soil, probably a couple of 5-gallon buckets, honestly, after a few years of those wood chips breaking down. So again, another advantage. So you guys can probably see, obviously, we lean towards the flood irrigation. We prefer that here. There's a lot of other benefits that we just described, and of course, the longevity. We don't have time to go back. So this question, we ask you guys each week if you guys can give us a topic or a question. We want to make sure this is geared towards you guys. The topic today actually came by a suggestion that somebody made on one of our irrigation videos and said that we were doing it absolutely wrong. We get that all the time. So we were doing it absolutely wrong, and you have to use drip irrigation, and you have to constantly move the drip irrigation away from the tree. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to argue with somebody because I'm not going to win that argument. And it is a true statement. But can you imagine, we have over 200 fruit trees here. Every year we're moving all of our drip irrigation. That would be an utter nightmare. But to their point, you obviously can do that very easily with your 1/4-inch strip line. So it actually is much, much easier to move it further away from the tree. So we will be challenged in the next few years with extending those rings and incorporating our emitter. And so we'll do that one time, if that. We'll do it one time to expand those rings just a little bit further. But to their point, yes, you can, with a little bit of effort, move that thing continuously further and further out. So, all right, is there any other notes that I have there?
No, I think you covered all your notes. The only other one, just heavier flow, was, I don't know if you necessarily said that, but
okay, I might not have.
You might have. I don't
gone
know.
into any more detail.
Yeah.
So that's my take. So you guys may have some questions or comments. We're going to get to those in a second. But if you guys have some suggestions, try that again. 3rd time's a charm. Yeah. Let us know here in the chat or down in the comments. So okay, questions. Do we have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you recommend higher output drip, 2 or 4 gallon per hour and short time, or more 1 to 2 gallon but longer?
It depends. So it depends on what you're watering and kind of some of your circumstances. So we use either 2-gallon or 4-gallon emitters here on the farm. We don't really use anything else. In fact, we really kind of need to throw away the other sizes. They're getting in the way. But we use either a 2 or a 4. And the only place that we use a 2-gallon per hour emitter is on either side of our grapevines. And you'll notice I said either side. So we're actually doing 4 gallons per hour. We're just separating it so it's on either side of the grapevine. And that's mainly because we're trying to encourage root growth basically between the entire row. And so we want it on both sides of the vine. It's the only place we use a 2-gallon because 4 gallons a bit much for all of those vines. And we have so many vines on one zone, we can't do 4 gallons on either side. So we're limited because of the number of trees. So that's the other part to this question where I say it depends. Ideally, 4 gallon per hour is kind of our standard. The trees I had mentioned earlier are olive trees, the pineapple guava, and the Yehuda. They're surrounded by 4 gallon per hour emitters. On the old farm, I think we did 3 4-gallon per hour emitters. It should have been 4. But the number of trees on the zone can make a difference. We are tapped out at this point at the front of the farm. We can't add anything else. So our flow will not allow anymore. So there's a few things that kind of go into that. So you kind of have to do a little bit of math to figure out whether or not you have the water flow in order to substantiate, the amount of flow in any given minute. So you're looking at it per minute. But I'll tell you what, in the city, even out here, you could do a whole lot of trees on one zone with a 4 gallon per hour emitter. So, but yeah, so short answer, 4 gallon is ideal. Long answer is 2 gallon, depending on the circumstances, you can still utilize that. But yeah, more flow is always going to be more beneficial for your fruit trees. More flow. So the higher gallon per hour, the better. Okay, what else?
I did a percolation test and the hole drained 12 inches at a rate of about 1 or 1.5 inch per hour. How would you set up your drip?
So, well, if you're going to do drip irrigation, it doesn't really matter. Water is going to generally not pool under most circumstances. And if it does, it's okay. It's actually beneficial. You're kind of getting the best of both worlds. If your drip irrigation winds up filling your irrigation ring, that's not a bad thing. And the biggest thing with this is we've talked about the importance of wood chip mulch. This is where that comes into play, because the wood chip mulch is going to absorb some of that water and keep the moisture there around the tree for a much longer period of time and not make everything kind of soggy. So I think the biggest thing with that is you obviously don't want your rings overflowing. And then, of course, over time, if you're using wood chip mulch, you're going to be just fine. I don't think you're going to have an issue. So now what you can do, if you're concerned about it, is you can use a soil tester, a moisture meter, to double check before you water. We don't have that issue with a long-standing water here on the farm. It percolates well enough. But if you're concerned about that, in between waterings, you can double check the soil moisture just to make sure you're not watering too soon. So, there you go.
How are the mulberries doing, and which are your favorite flavor-wise?
Well. So we happen to have 3 different mulberries right here. There we go. So we're only going to try one of these today, but I have 3 different types. I've got Shangri-La mulberries right here. I have ever-bearing mulberries right here. I know you guys can't see them. That's on purpose. And then I have contorted mulberries right here. So we're gonna actually try the contorted mulberry, I think, for the first time here with you guys today. I don't think we've ever tried those on camera.
We have the best harvest, production on those trees than we've ever had so far.
And they look really, really good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try one here. So we've had one, so we already know the answer to this question. So, and it still stands. Do you want to answer
the question? Mine's the same.
Well, it's going to be the same. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Shangri-La. I told so many people that today. My favorite's a Shangri-La.
Right.
Hands
so
down.
For fresh eating, our go-to really is the Shangri-La. That's why we propagated so many of those too. We sold a lot of those today. But so to give you an idea, that is a Shangri-La mulberry right there. Well, let me get you a good background. There you go. So you get an idea of size. So that's about a little over 1 inch. And they could be longer than this, maybe 1.5 inches. And then they're probably about 1/2 inch thick. And
Mar said rank them from best to worst.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll do that in a second after we do this trial. But, okay, well, the Shangri-La is the best. So,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I would say it's the best. Honestly, I'm a big fan of the ever-bearing mulberry. And it's the reason why we put it in our smoothies every single day. We're eating ever-bearing mulberries. Yeah. They're very, very small. So it's a tiny, in fact, I've got one. So it's going to be hard to see this, but that is an ever-bearing mulberry. It's tiny. So here's the Shangri-La. There we go. There you can see them.
You got to move your hand because it's blocking.
Okay.
There you go.
Ay. Anyways, so this is not working out so good, but
and then you
ever-bearing, Shangri-La, and then you're going to try to put that up there?
Yeah, and then you got a contorted, which is a little bigger than the Shangri-La.
I don't know if they're
a little bigger than the ever-bearing. I'm sorry.
It's right
smaller.
Between. Yep. And what we don't have here on display is a black Pakistan, which is about twice as long.
Yeah, it's like that long.
Yeah, it's about twice as long as your Shangri-La. Okay, so back to the question. We're going to try the contorted mulberry. In fact, let's go ahead and try the contorted mulberry, and then we can answer the question.
Okay.
So this is the one right between it. Beautiful tree. It's good. They might be a little overripe. Do you think?
They might be. There's so many on there, but that doesn't have as much flavor to me.
Nope. It doesn't, because we've got Now we're going to go ahead and try them here. How
Oh,
about
okay. So this is the Everbearing, which I think this one is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Right off the bat. Right off the bat. So yeah, the contorted is probably, well,
Number 4.
well, maybe. Because I know what number 5 is. You got to keep all of them. Right. Okay, so here's my ranking. So the contorted is not bad. But the reason we have the contorted mulberry is because of the contorted shape. So especially in the wintertime, they're beautiful, amazing looking trees.
The trees, the branches are like all contorted.
It's really, really cool. Yeah, they're literally contorted.
It is.
Yeah. Kind of makes sense that it'd be called contorted. I mean, I don't know why it's called Shangri-La, whatever. But I would say for me, the Shangri-La, obviously number 1. Number 2 for me is the Everbearing. Number 3 for me is the Black Pakistan. Number 4 for me is the contorted mulberry. And number 5, and not good, don't need to eat it.
White mulberry.
It's the white Persian mulberry. It's not very good. So
yeah, the one we don't have is our black Persian mulberry. Those are ripe on here.
Yeah, that's true. Those, from what I remember, those were probably similar to the contorted. So they're going to be kind of in the middle somewhere. Yeah, so those are our opinions. And again, you know, our opinion is worth what you paid for it. Last time I checked, we weren't charging admission. That means it's worth jack squat.
Okay, so with the irrigation rings, how do you deal with water at the root ball for younger trees? Do you hand water them?
Right. So no, we don't hand water them. So we have a double ring design. So if you can imagine, like donut's not a good example, but you have the tree planted here. You have a small ring around said tree, right? And then you have a little channel between them and a larger. So you have kind of like Saturn rings. So you have the tree planted in the middle, a ring, and then a bigger ring. And then there's a channel that goes between all the rings. That channel feeds the middle circle first, and then it overflows and feeds the outer circle. And because when we plant our trees, we plant them on a mound. So basically that is a berm, and then there's a swale. And what happens with berms and swales is the water inside the swale slowly penetrates into the mound and saturates the root ball with water. It does a very, very effective job at that. Very effective. And so that's essentially what we do with our trees. Now, if you're not doing flood irrigation, it doesn't really matter, because you can put the drip emitter up on a mound and then just have your single ring. So you don't need a double ring with your drip irrigation.
Yeah, and then after either a season or 2, we will block off the water to go to that center ring and just water in that outer ring to encourage that outward growth.
Yeah, and we've done that. We usually do that, but it's not really necessary. What happens after a year or 2 is the soil builds up around that tree and it blocks it anyway, naturally. So yeah, we haven't even gone back and closed off, because we already know after a year or 2 it's going to close itself off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What is SAR of your irrigation water?
I don't know that I know what that is. SAR? I'm not sure what that is. You're going to have to let me know what that is. I'm sure that stands for something. I'm not sure what it is. Somebody let me know what that is.
Okay.
Hopefully I can answer it. I may not know. If it's testing, we haven't had our water tested outside of hardness. And it is very, very, very hard water and very alkaline water. And the groundwater here in Arizona is both of those. It's alkaline and it's got a lot of mineral content in it. So it's actually fantastic tasting water. I've got some hydration in this, but our water actually tastes very, very good.
Yeah, we just drink our tap water.
We just drink straight tap water. Yep. Because there's nothing in it, guys.
Yeah.
Nothing in it.
Which is our well water. So.
Right.
Where do you buy your irrigation supplies?
From several different places. So not Amazon. So you guys know we're big on Amazons. We're Amazon affiliates. You guys do a great job of using our links, and we get a little baby commission on that. But I will tell you, don't get your irrigation supplies on Amazon. In a pinch, we've ordered things on Amazon, but you're gonna spend more money. So Home Depot or Lowe's are the obvious ones. Ewing has some unique, we have 1 1/4 inch drip line sorry, 1¼ inch main lines that go down our orchard rows, because we need a big enough diameter in order for the water flow to be high enough. And so we're going to be doing some expansion on that here over the next couple of years. We're not going to share why yet, but you guys will see that here over the next couple of years. So when I go to do that, I'm going to actually need, I'll wind up getting that 1¼ inch line or PVC from Ewing. So there's one here in Surprise. That's EWING. So we use Ewing. And then Sprinkler Warehouse. We use them. It's an online place. And Supply House. I think it's just Supply House. So we've gotten irrigation supplies from them. It's basically like a plumbing place online. So those are all really good options, and we utilize those for different things. So Sprinkler Warehouse, for example, is where we get our bubblers. Our bubbler heads come from there. Most of our like basic, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch line, 1/4 inch strip line, 1/2 inch poly, drip emitters, any smaller sticks of PVC. We get all that stuff from Home Depot. So we're orange. We generally don't go to blue. We're typically, I'm a fan of Home Depot. I don't know, blue versus orange.
No offense to either one.
Yeah, they're both fine. I've always gone to Home Depot. I know they're kind of all set up similarly, so I can find the stuff that I want. And I just tend to find a lot more of the hardware there. It just seems to be, I don't know. I shop Home Depot, but either one of them is fine. So, and that really is kind of the go-to, right? So if we're doing irrigation, we're probably making a Home Depot run.
Yeah.
And then when we're there, we stock up. So like if we're getting emitters, we get an extra bag. If we're getting, elbows, we get 3 or 4. If we're getting, a T, we get 3 or 4. And so that way we do have repairs here. It's available. We're always buying glue. So once every year or two, we're buying another thing of Christie's glue. So that's kind of how we work our irrigation stuff. So,
any tips for Nagami kumquats?
Well, we don't have one anymore. So ours, we had 2 here. Both of them died, so we gave up on that spot. Stuck a banana there, so we'll see how it does. But it's a good kumquat. Nagami kumquat is typically the kumquat that you will find in the grocery store. So when you can find them, which is not very often, you can find Nagami kumquats. So that is kind of your commercial variety. As far as the flavor, I think it's a really good balance of tart and sweet. A lot more tart for sure than sweet. Most kumquats are. The only one that I've found that's a really good balance of the two is the Fukushu and the Miwa. Both of those are a pretty good balance of tart and sweet, which is why we prefer those. But the Nagami's still a good one, and again, a very common one. So that's kind of your commercial kumquat. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, it was just any tips for it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with kumquats is those are dwarf trees. So, ours have gotten pretty big in the ground. They do really good in pots. In fact, the Nagami probably would do better in pots. We failed twice with it. So, I don't know. It could have been the spot, but the tree right next to it is just fine. Literally, they're sharing an irrigation ring. So, they're dwarf trees. So, for the first, they grow really, really slow. And so, I don't know that I'd have any other tips or pointers other than they do really well in pots and they can be finicky in soil. So we found that to be the case as well. Once they get established, they're fantastic. The ones we have over there are grown into a wonderful hedge. And so, but yeah, all of them, the Nagami included, did wonderful in a pot.
Yeah.
So just some mottled, definitely afternoon sun, mottled sun during the day. They can definitely, unlike most citrus, they can handle some mottled sun as opposed to needing full sun. So,
for knowing when to water next, are you looking for completely dry at 1 inch depth or finger damp but not clumping?
You never want it dry.
Or how do you determine when to water
So,
again?
So first things first, we don't measure that. So I do not even own a moisture meter.
Yeah.
Right. So we really kind of keep an eye on the trees. I will tell you, we really don't have irrigation issues. We've just kind of learned when we water, and the mulch will really balance that out for you. But you definitely do not want it dry. There is not a fruit tree that is going to do well in dry soil. Not one. And we get way too dry, way too fast. And so I will tell you, you can definitely overwater a tree. That's a true statement. But you are watering a lot in order to overwater a tree in Arizona. I mean, a lot. So, or you have soil that simply will not drain at all. So you're growing in caliche, which, you know what? I know some of you guys out there are trying to basically grow in caliche. So, there's a whole other slew of problems with that. But, if you're growing in our very hard, nasty soil, it needs to have some moisture in it all the time. So it can't go without it, because fruit trees, as much as they can be desert adapted, it's really adapted-ish. It just means that they don't need to be in a rainforest. That's really all that means. And so they're definitely not happy in dry soil. So just be cautious of that. And again, back to wood chip mulch. I will tell you, if you've got them heavily mulched, it's going to be, and you're not watering daily, you're watering deep and infrequent, no more than once a week, maybe twice a week with a few days in between, and you're watering away from the tree, chances are really good you're not going to damage your tree by too much water. Really, really good that you won't. So,
do you deal with rodents chewing hoses?
yes. Well, wait. So,
Not
garden
water
hoses,
but irrigation hoses.
Right. So we will have rodents that will chew through 1/2-inch and 1/4-inch poly. So drip lines, basically. And as we had mentioned that a little bit earlier, as the challenge with using drip irrigation is you are going to have rodent damage. So they will eventually find it.
Or dog damage.
Or dogs, yeah. So our dogs will munch on them. I already know that's Maverick. So, but anyways. So, but yeah, you will get some rodent damage. There's really not a good way around that. We generally bury it. Unfortunately, with ground squirrels, they dig underground, and they will absolutely chew right through your 1/2-inch, especially 1/4-inch lines. But we've had them chew into both. So we've had them chew 1/2-inch drip line, or 1/2-inch poly, and 1/4-inch drip line. So we've had rodents go through both. Yep. And it's very easy to tell. Sorry to interrupt. It's very easy to tell when you've had a ground squirrel go through your 1/4-inch drip line. It's a perfect cut at an angle every time. Every time. I don't know why they do that, but it's not perfect cut, but it's dang near. It's really close. So versus your dog that literally gnaws and chews on the end of it, and you're like, that was my dog. That was my dog.
Okay, I'm going back to the question, what is SAR of your irrigation water?
Mm-hmm.
So it is, it's sodium absorption ratio.
Oh, I have no
basically
idea.
how salty.
Oh, I know it's salty, but I don't know how salty. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't had it tested for that. I don't know. It might be in the testing that we had for the water softener, but I don't think so. I don't remember. So,
I don't know either.
yeah. But I do know that groundwater here is salty. So that's pretty common. Yeah, I don't know the amount.
Have you ever made a video on planting a tree on a slope hill, how to set it up? I got 18 trees I got to plant on a hill, so I need advice. Thanks.
So the answer is no. We've always lived on flat land. And even our backyard in the city was flat. So it's always been flat. I've never had to plant on a slope. So, I mean, you're going to have to do some excavation. So, I mean...
So Kevin's on a slope, isn't he, in Vegas?
He actually dug into the slope. So, basically, he built terraces. And, I mean, that's the only thing that I know of that's effective is terracing. And that's very common. So, I mean, terracing has been used into antiquity. And it's basically for growing things on a slope. And so you're going to have to dig into said slope to give yourself a flat surface. And obviously the tree always needs to be straight up and down, but because it will naturally try to do that. But other than that, I don't have any experience with it. So I would just be kind of what I've seen and heard, but we haven't had to deal with it. So don't have a good answer. Sorry.
Go to order from Chipotle if you guys eat from there. We don't eat from there.
We don't. We don't usually go. We don't go to any fast food. I suppose if I was going to go to one, it might be Chipotle, but I haven't been there in years.
Yeah, I think the last time we did go there, we would get the burrito bowls.
Yep, it was a burrito bowl. It was a chicken burrito bowl.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. But it's got rice and beans in it, so we wouldn't.
We don't eat those.
We don't.
Well,
I do some
beans,
beans, but don't eat rice. So, but yeah, it was that. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a massive appetite. Well, if you put a steak in front of me, I got a pretty darn good appetite. But And now I'm sitting there thinking about this is getting me on dinner. All of a sudden, I'm
Food?
getting hungry. But the challenge that we have today is that same thing with chicken in there. I do not like any store-bought chicken at all. It has no flavor, and so
Or restaurant bought chicken.
we are just spoiled when it comes to any of our meats. And we had this conversation today with folks that were here talking about livestock, but how our pork tastes a lot porkier, our beef tastes a lot beefier, our chicken tastes a lot chickenier. It's not a word, but I can tell you right now, it is a lot stronger flavor.
Yeah.
And so I'm used to the chicken having a strong flavor by itself, as opposed to having to have all these other things. And so I would have a hard time eating there because it's going to taste bland.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a lot of flavor on its own. You have to church it up with all the other stuff. So, but yeah, it would be a burrito bowl. Why? What's yours? Right back at you. How we doing?
We're doing good.
Oh, good.
We're caught up on questions.
Hey, this is fantastic.
Yeah, so we're, right on time here.
Very good. So actually, it works out good because I've been talking all day long. I'm running out of steam. I hope you're not going to be too chatty on me tonight, are you?
I am so exhausted that I'm over here hoping that I don't pass out on everybody.
Okay, good. Because if you're wanting to have long conversations tonight about philosophical things, it's not going to happen.
We are doing leftovers for dinner because I forgot to make our country style ribs today.
And what are we having today?
We're going to do a fajita chicken that we made the other night. So we will eat that for leftovers. And and I will probably pass out on the couch.
Okay, there you go.
You're good.
All right. So, easy night.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just want to thank you guys for being here. So we're a few minutes early. So if you guys have any last minute questions that we can get to those here in just a moment. But just want to thank you. This has been the Desert Farmer Podcast. I think it was episode 53, if I'm not mistaken. We do this podcast every
Saturday. I was just about to yawn.
For everybody that's listening to this and not watching it, they're like, every Saturday.
We had such a long day, you guys.
Lori's really excited about Saturdays. Every Saturday at 2 o'clock Arizona time. Love having you guys here. If you guys have topics, we want to make sure that this podcast is centered around you guys. This is our way of giving back to you guys, giving back some of the time that you share with us to make sure that we're answering questions, and we kind of gear this content towards you. One of the things that we've decided this year is we're going to really focus on this time with you guys versus constantly putting out new content. We've got a lot of content here on YouTube, and we have a tendency to rehash some things. So you'll find that we're going to share things as they are new, or new topics, as opposed to rehashing a lot of stuff we've already talked about. But this is a time for us to make sure we connect with you guys. So if you have any questions, you guys can send those via email. You can do it via Facebook or Instagram. You can message us here, leave comments on any of those old videos. So a lot of ways to get a hold of us. The farm contact phone number is that girl's phone, and so it goes to her. If you want to text, you can do that as well. But just want to make sure we're centering this around you guys. Any other questions?
Yes, we have a couple on here. So how do I fertilize fruit trees in a guild, also in Phoenix?
Sure. So the probably drip irrigation. The reason why I say that is PVC works on right angles. Yeah, you can do some 45-degree elbows and that kind of stuff, but it works on 45-degree angles. So if you're gilding, you're generally working in circles, okay, or clumps. And so if that's the case, you're going to pretty much have to do drip irrigation, and you have to irrigate. Don't think you're not going to be able to irrigate. You're going to have to irrigate. So make sure you design it so your irrigation is designed into it. And of course, all of that tubing is easy to bend. And so you can really have any design that you want to make sure that your guild is set up just the way you want it, and you don't have to be concerned about right angles. So one of a few reasons why we're not truly permaculture here. We've got a few reasons why we're not 100% into that. We are. We base a lot of things on that, but we did decide we talked about drip irrigation. 45-degree angles don't work well with guilds. So we can do some, don't get me wrong, but there's other reasons why we don't. So, but it sounds like you are going to do that. So if you are, 1/2-inch poly and 1/4-inch strip line is your friend. And make sure you irrigate everything here in Arizona. So even your understory needs its own irrigation. because you're going to need to. That understory is taking water away from your canopy. So make sure you're irrigating enough. Don't assume that if you're irrigating the canopy that your understory is getting enough water. It probably isn't. Okay.
Any plans for Easter?
Yes, we're going next door. So we're going.
Not cooking.
Nope. So we're going to Nate and Tara's. So one of the few times we won't have our own pork. So I know they're doing. Is it a tri-tip? Is that right?
There's like a ham, a tri-tip, some type of chicken, and something else I can't remember.
That beef is calling my name.
Obviously, a bunch of sides and desserts and all that stuff. But
yeah, ham on Easter is great. That's traditional. But beef, I tell you what, man, beef Thanksgiving. I'm having beef and turkey.
I'm having ham. I'm having ham. And our son, he obviously, is now married, so he goes to his in-laws for holidays because they're more big on it than we are. We don't care either way. And we don't want to drive out there, so we go to Nate and Tara's.
We walk. We actually have it. We cut out a piece. It's
our
the
fence
cattle
in
panel.
Between us.
Yep. So that cattle panel has a cattle panel fence.
A gate.
Yeah. So we can have a couple of adult beverages and we don't have to worry about the commute.
We just walk through our gate next door and walk back.
Yep. So it works out perfect for us.
Yeah.
Works out perfect for us.
It's awesome. Tara, Nate, you guys are awesome.
Yep.
Love
thank
you guys.
And thank you so much for today. A lot of help today.
Yeah.
So again, just want to thank you guys for today. Here, the Desert Farmer Podcast, episode 53. It's time to wrap up. Join us next week at 2:00 Arizona time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Here for topics that are centered around you. And again, just want to thank you guys for the time that you spend with us. The most valuable thing we have here on the planet is time. You guys choose to spend that with us. We do not take that for granted. And this is our opportunity to give back a little bit of that time to you guys. So just want to thank you again for joining us today. Until next time, we want to remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere,
so can you.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.